Yo, it's ODB from OLP, and this is an unboxing to show you guys something that I recently acquired. It's been on my list a long time. If you've been following our social media as well as the podcast, you know a truck over the years that we've talked a lot about is Mike Kaufman's full-size OBS, painted by Cal Concepts. A lot of legendary people worked on the truck over the years, and it graced the cover of the first issue of Street Trucks. After having our customs on Rick Bentley, it was going back to episode 100. That was episode keeping it 100 with Rick Bentley, I believe is what we titled it. We talked a lot about the history of Mike Kaufman's truck. Mike, shout out to Mike if he happens to see this. We'd love to get him on the podcast. He was down with some of the down to earth guys and a lot of the kinfolk out there. And Rick had sent me the feature that was in a very obscure Japan magazine. I've been able to see some of these issues over the course of time, but this issue that I'm going to show you guys here in a minute, plus other stuff, is very coveted, very hard to find, and I finally was able to locate one. So I want to show you guys that. But if you haven't already, please check us out via any podcast app. Just search OLP. We certainly appreciate it. Now, what I was able to do is basically acquire a collection, and all I've done is cut this open, so I haven't even dug into this stuff. It's been sitting about a week. It was delivered while I was at Mini Nats. So what we're looking at here is this came all the way from Japan. So shout out to all the kinfolk. We've got a lot of listeners, a lot of followers from Japan, Australia, New Zealand, so far over there. And these, like I said, were delivered while I was at Mini Nats, and I thought it would be cool to share this with you guys. So basically, I acquired 10 or 12 issues of this magazine, and you can see, man, I love how people sometimes will ship things and they'll take a lot of care. They put this in bubble wrap. Also, this nice square box here. They fit perfect. And that's key, because when you're shipping to or from another country, it gets very expensive. Speaking of that, we often have people ask us, like, hey, I noticed when I go to ourlifestylepodcast.com to purchase something, I don't see Canada and I don't see other options. If you're outside the country and you want to buy something from our site, please email us, ourlifestylepodcast@gmail.com. Mike has to get a quote for that, because just like with this, and I don't know what the cost was, technically it was media, so I don't know if they have media mail option, but the cost to ship overseas is just insane, including going across the border. So from the US to Canada, it costs a lot, and it's just one of those things, we have to get a quote on it. But basically, for those that don't know, this magazine is called CAL, C-A-L, and I assume it's short for California. It kind of has a California vibe to it, and it's called CAL Magazine. And these, again, are very coveted. They're very hard to find, some of the early issues. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 issues, including April of 2000. Now, when we had Rick on, and Rick had shared a bunch of stuff with us, he had shared a feature, Syndicate of Style, and that was Mike Kaufman's title in this magazine. And again, we've also been able to share some of those. Recently, we had Steve Platt on, and we talked about Steel Flame, and he had shared some obscure magazines, some different features from other publications around the world, featuring Jay LaRosa's, S10, as well as Steve Platt. So it's very cool to me. This is a big part of our history. Unfortunately, it's not widely seen or even known, because it just was published, and back in these days with, basically no social media, other than if someone emailed you a copy of it or shipped you an issue. If you were kind of part of the build, you just would never know about it. And that's one thing I like to highlight here at OLP. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slice into this here in just a second, and they sent a little thank you note for the purchase. I made a deal with them, and we'll look at each of these covers real quick, and I'll change the camera angle here so you can see what I'm looking at. Let's do it, y'all. Appreciate the support. All right, the first thing I noticed is this person took a lot of care to package this. So of course it's bubble wrapped all up, and it's got tape around it, so you don't even feel any of the seams. But enough with the packaging. Let's jump in. And just like that, we are on to this issue. Now, unfortunately, I can't read these, and I guess I could use a translate app. It says volume 90, January 2000. I think this is the entire 12 set for 2000, I believe. But the cool thing about this magazine is they feature all sorts of different stuff. Now, this is what I was thinking is this looks like the back cover, but because the binding is on this side, and you'd be like, okay, well, in America we flip it like this and we would open it like this, but I think things are a little backwards. The other thing that was neat to me is look at how the binding, look how the writing is here. So that's kind of cool. But they have this whole California vibe, hot rod vibe, and there's a lot of cool stuff in these magazines. There was another magazine called Custom Car, which says on the cover Boob Car. That magazine's still around, and they kind of have a similar vibe to it. You can look through some of these classifieds and actually see in my buddy Josh's the issue that he had a Boob Car, Custom Car, you'd see cover trucks in the classifieds in Japan, which was just kind of nuts. But what I'm going to do right now for the sake of this video, to kind of keep it a little shorter, which is not easy for me, as you guys know, is I'm going to just show you the covers of these issues and maybe talk about a couple quick things, and then I'll do other videos in the future because, as you can imagine, I'm going to want to make sure I have my camera rigged correctly so that I can possibly use two hands to open these because I don't want to damage them. And some of these don't lay flat. I know the Custom Trucks mag, that newer Japan magazine that's still in publication, those are not easy to flip through. But here you go. There's a VW. There's a hot rod. We'll look at a little bit of stuff here. SEMA show coverage. That'll be cool to see what they have in there. Pretty cool stuff. Now this issue right here, wow, I cannot believe I own this one now. This issue right here is hot because look at this. American EX US model collection. That right there, my friends, is Mike Kaufman's truck. That's the insert photo for the cover. You can see no plate like he would show it, as far as I remember, on the front. And this issue, the only way I knew this existed is because of Rick Bentley, again, for sending me. Mike Kaufman responded to a story that I had posted, and he said, man, I don't even think I have that. And I said, yeah, it's very, obviously it's very hard to get. But Rick Bentley, I'd be curious to know how he got his hands on a copy. Now, if we flip this over, I won't do this on all of them, but this is presumably, third issue. I don't know if they were just basically monthly. You would think so, like March, for instance. But you can see that's on the other side. And the issues that I've seen over the course of time have just really varied. I mean, they've done things from like features of just like people's garages, because a lot of guys here in Japan, they love the American style. They love their own style as well, but you'll just see all sorts of cool stuff. This, I think I may have used a photo similar to this for the cover of that episode, the cover art, I call it. But you can see there just how cool this is. And again, I'm not going to do a full flip through or anything like that, but I just wanted to show you guys. Now, that's not the feature there, but it gives you a little bit of what to expect here. But, the artwork, the best word I could say is like culture, right? Lifestyle. Lifestyle is probably the best word I can use. But they encapsulate it with this publication. My understanding is it's still in existence. You'll still see new issues, but as you would expect, I mean, this was 23 years ago, so the style has probably changed. It's evolved. It's probably a better word. But I mean, you think about, I often, I'm on the search for some of these rare magazines, and I'll see some cool stuff, and sometimes I don't want to splurge on maybe what someone's asking for something, especially if it's something very obscure. But certainly I love this stuff, and I had to pull the trigger on this, so to speak. Moon Eyes, it'd be cool to do an episode and talk a lot about their history. Obviously they've got their store here, they got their store in Japan, they might even have other stores elsewhere, but the last time I saw their booth was last September, half a year ago, a little over half a year ago in California. I was at Cruising for a Cure, and it's always cool to see Moon Eyes, and I see them anytime I've been to SEMA. They have a booth there. But again, if you guys have any information, I know some of the worldwide viewers might be chiming in. I don't know if there's subtitles technically, or if you guys can understand what I'm saying, but if there's any insight that you can provide on, when did this magazine start? Who started it? Does anybody know anybody that's worked there over the years or contributed? I think it's awesome. And again, the style from Japan that they capture, kind of that worldwide culture, is super cool. Check this out. I was actually talking to someone recently. We were a Lincoln guy, that's an older guy that did a write-up on me for an LCOC magazine, Lincoln Continental Owner Club kind of publication. I was talking about styling, and I always remember back to the early 2000s when PT Cruisers came out, late 90s, early 2000s. As much as we may not like them now, or maybe you didn't like them then, it was just a huge thing. Cover of Truckin, tons of SEMA vehicles. It was crazy, that phenomenon. And as I said, styles and trends change. Got a nice hot rod theme there. Look at the diversity of covers and content and back covers. Typically in America, you get one advertiser, kind of like we've seen on Mini Truckin recently, the throwbacks. I've been going through the flip throughs, and you'll end up seeing the same advertiser on it. And we've seen Moon Eyes on a bunch of these, but it's just cool to see the differences, since we're so used to the stuff we've seen over the years. VW is obviously a worldwide phenomenon there. Pretty cool stuff. LA Roadsters 2000. I could just look at this stuff, even if I can't read it. I'll probably try the Translate app. Maybe I'll do some of that just for a couple of captions here and there for something different on our content. Check that out right there, Cal Concepts. I've seen some, again, obscure magazines that have some pretty cool things that tie into Boyd, just shop stuff. But to be able to have a snapshot of Cal Concepts on whatever day they were there, or month or year, pretty cool. And especially since they moved locations, we've been able to kind of document over the years. Sorry for the camera movement there. Document over the years their shop and the open houses they've had. And then there was the one you could see there, Boyd. So if you guys have any obscure magazines or something that you would think maybe you're ready to pass on to someone else, and you think, hey, you guys would maybe appreciate it, hit me up, man. ourlifestylepodcast@gmail.com. Even if it's something you have and you're just willing to flip it open and send a couple photos of a rare obscure feature, that's certainly appreciated. More to come with these issues of Cal magazine, but thanks for checking this video out. I'm going to try to keep it a little short. Stay on the rise, everyone. Can't wait to look at these more. We got ya. Consider subscribing. Right now, I'll flash it up. Flash it up. Peace. All right, last thing. I cut this open just now. I always love when sellers send stuff like this. A little thank you. And there you go. We hope you enjoy it. We look forward to seeing you again.